A very good morning to you all and a warm welcome to this edition of KFM VPN, that's Views, People and News, on this Saturday, the 3rd of May, 2025. My name is Judith Atim. A warm welcome to you all. Of course, our topic for VPN initially was the strategies and concerns as parties plan for the 2026 polls. However, we shall talk about this just very briefly during this 9 to 10 o'clock hour, and focus the show on a very different issue, and here is why. We just woke up to shocking and heartbreaking news of the tragic death of businessman Rajiv Ruparelia, who is a son to tycoon Sudhir Ruparelia. And I have a press statement issued by the police here with me, which reads, fatal crash at Busabala flyover claiming the life of Mr. Rajiv Ruparelia, dated May 3rd, 2025. It says, we regret to report a tragic single fatal crash that occurred in the early hours of Saturday, May 3rd, 2025 at approximately 1:54 a.m. at the Busabala flyover traffic lights located in Machindi Sabagabo, Wakiso district. The crash involved a Nissan GTR motor vehicle registration number UAT 638L, which was traveling from Kajansi towards Munyonyo. Preliminary investigations indicate that the driver lost control of the vehicle after colliding with temporary pavements installed at the roundabout section of the flyover. The vehicle subsequently overturned and caught fire, leading to the instant death of the driver, identified as Mr. Rajiv Ruparelia. The exact cause of the crash has not been determined yet. However, investigations are underway and the police will provide updates to the public as more information becomes available. We extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of the deceased. Signed by SP Kananura Michael, the CLO Directorate of Traffic and Road Safety. And also from the KFM VPN crew and the KFM family, we also sincerely extend our condolences to the family of the late Rajiv Ruparelia. So this is just what it is. But before we shall be getting comments and reactions about Mr. Rajiv's passing. And I know on the phone already we have Mr. Isa Sekito, who is the spokesperson for Kampala City Traders Association Uganda. Good morning, Mr. Sekito.
Good morning, my sister.
How are you today?
Brief.
I know. But before, yes.
Because I am shocked, not only because of Rajiv Ruparelia, because myself in the last 3 weeks I survived a similar accident.
Oh dear.
Around the Masanafu. A lorry squeezed me on the left. A road that I didn't know had the culverts. They were working on the drainage. It had a big culvert. You know, these culverts are funny. They are big on the bottom and smaller up. As the lorry was coming towards me, I squeezed myself to the left. Unfortunately, I hit one of them and the tire burst, and this was the front tire. I jumped up and it was a big car, a super custom, but it flew like, and I was not fast. So it went into the drainage. The good thing, I had tightened my belt. I survived. But it was only God. Those who saw my vehicle only know that it is God who still wanted me alive. In the same time, not even in 2 months, we lost somebody nicknamed Swahaba, was a prominent trader who was working with the Kirabo import and export. Here, as you reach, when you are going to Zambia, that's a flyover. He hit the same culvert, the small car turned, and they just got a dead body out of the car. Today, when I heard from one of the colleagues around, and this is Mr. Godfrey Chirumi, the chairman of Kwagalana, who confirmed to me that Rajiv is dead, it reminded myself of the accident I survived, and the many that have not been talked about who have succumbed to this culvert, which emerged instantly. You might have passed to go wherever you are going while the road is clear. While coming back, they have blocked off the road.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are not careful, it is not God's mercy. Many people do succumb to this culvert. There are so many roads. You see, you go to this road, it is blocked. You go to the other, it is blocked. So they have cut many assignments which are not completed on due time, and therefore we need to be very, very, very careful. But it is very saddening, the death of Rajiv.
It is indeed. And he was just quite young, 35 years of age, born on the 2nd of January, 1990.
I am a close person to the Ruparelia team, and when you have been following how Mzee Sudiri Ruparelia, the senior, has been nurturing his son, you really know how much grief, how much saddened he is now, because as the Mzee is aging, Rajiv was the hope of so many issues. When you go to the apartment, when you go to where he's working at the crane chambers, when you go to every other premise, if Mzee is here, the boy is in the next room trying to be nurtured into taking over in case the Mzee is gone. So you just imagine the parents, the coherence that the two had. We sympathize with the Mzee Ruparelia and the family, because Rajiv has been so close to the management, has been so close to the administration, has also been so close to the entire business community. In fact, more common than the big man. Yes.
That's really tragic. So, of course, Rajiv Ruparelia was the managing director at Ruparelia Group. He was also a very passionate rally driver. It actually feels so surreal to say was and even refer to him as the late. It is just very tragic, and it's tragic and really shocking. What else? But what are the things that you probably remember him for outside business, outside work? Maybe the softer side of him that people probably didn't know much about. He was quite a fun-loving guy.
Of course, sports, like we have said, when you're a sports person, whichever the hobby it is, whichever the sport it is, you become so common and known. Two, Rajiv has been interacting with many younger upcoming tycoons. The children of Chirumira, the children of the likes of Aponye, the likes of this Ephraim Ntaganda, those people who are within 40s and below, 45, 50 and below. Has been a linking factor. When you go for parties that are that class, Rajiv would always be part of them. He was trying to bridge the gap between the very high, well-to-do life of the father to become an ordinary Ugandan, sharing with the Ugandans, being born here, growing here, doing business here, and exposed. There was a lot to share with him. He was a jovial man. So, for those who would reach him, for those who would talk with him, would see a genius young man, and there were no regrets for what if the Mzee Sudiri, God forbid, goes away. Yes.
That's really interesting. So I want us to, now that we also have you, and I know there have been also a lot of issues outside this tragic news of Rajiv's passing. I want us to focus a little bit on the business environment generally, especially in the context that we find ourselves in. We are just a very short time away from the reading of the new budget for the coming financial year, and I know traders have a lot of concerns about also the recent tax amendment bills that were passed. But generally, what does this mean for business?
No, you are asking me a question. While yesterday I was chairing a meeting of some aggrieved traders, and you are aware that the chairman, Mr. Thaddeus, is in Iran trying to see how things work there. The CEO, Mr. Abe, also is in Iran. They are trying to see what to copy from there. But that one aside, yesterday I was chairing traders who are aggrieved by the recent pronouncements by the Commissioner General of Uganda Revenue Authority that is the people are going to leave what we call groupage cargo. If you bring goods in a group container, there is no more paying for others to use house bill of lading. The house bill of lading is a facility where if you are, for example, 10 in a container, each one comes with an individual bill of lading showing the ownership, so that you take that and pay the taxes you sold. Not like it has been, you choose one representative and is the one who collects the taxes from you and pays URA. It had issues, but it was taking little time. But here, if a container is going to be verified and you are 10 or 15 people there, one person is not yet ready for the taxes, another one is out of the country, another one is in the village. Opening a container would wish to see that everybody is around. So if you stop this, you are going to see in fact it had never worked. It's the business of house bills of lading. But it was so slow. People who come with the house bills of lading would take 2 weeks, while those ones who come with a single consignee would take 2 to 3 days. And each day you take a bond means money and payable in dollars. That one, while that one had not been relaxed or solved yet, we have received a memo from Uganda Revenue Authority from the AC Field Services. Naturally, this is the one in the head of collection of taxes, Dr. Okaka. And accordingly, he's saying any container of government will be charged above 200 million. If it is less than 200 million, this will not be a good value.
Wow.
When you talk about valuation is a standard process. It is already provided for under the East African Community Customs Union and the East African Customs Management Act. It is a GATT valuation principle, a principle of the WTO. It requires that if I import goods, I need to give you the papers, all right? If you don't believe what I have submitted is true, then you subject me to the identical methods value. Items that have been cleared and they are the same as mine, identical. If that fails, you subject me to similar method until the process is exhausted. So this business of grouping, and you say that such items are going to be paying such and such a tax, becomes Brussels' definition of value, which was scrapped. You can't determine prices depending on a particular item because somebody X paid the Y price, I should pay Y price. No. You look at my paperwork, I look at my documents, for as long as I can substantiate and prove them, you have no honors at all under the law to subject me to estimated prices. So this is something that we have written a letter for. We are going to engage with the URA management, but this one means that as we speak, traders in the government are stuck. Men are not clearing the goods because those who are expected to pay between 140, 150 million are being told to pay beyond 200 million. And we are not prepared for this. So this is coming at a time when the budget is going to be presented soon. Finally, you recall that the negotiations between the trading community and the president of Uganda left some 3 issues pending.
Yeah.
And till August last year, we have not yet met the president. We gave him enough time, ample time to do the research as requested. And these were particularly 3 things. One was the application of IFRIS in the business community downtown. 2 was the influx of the the manufacturers from the foreign origin who are again vending items, yet they are the one who's producing them. You meet them in Barara, you meet them in Ikumi, you meet them with their trucks saturating items, yet they have already wholesaled to some traders. So they are abusing the trade order mechanism completely. And the third thing was charging prices of textiles and garments in kilos, contrary to the existing GATT valuation agreement. So all these issues are still pending, and now there is tension within the business community for that matter, my sister.
And also the other context, of course, the first was the budget season, but also we are also in a political context. Elections are coming very soon. We are pretty much seeing already parties very active and busy and so on. Of course, I want to know, are you throwing your hat in the ring for a particular position? I've had some whispers and rumors.
I was considering so, but I want politics of conscience myself. There are so many authorities that have approached me. I need to be clear to you, as indeed to many other Ugandans. I thought that if I'm going to come either for the Kampala Central MP representation or for the mayorhood, the Lord mayorship, some people would gather some funds, give me to stand so that I'm their representative. But now people are gathering groups telling me you come. When you go to listen to them, they want money to mobilize for you. Now, where am I going to get the money for my children's school fees, which is so steep? In some schools, we are going just begging. And now you want the small one that I'm remaining with to give you to look for votes for me. Now, you want me to lead you?
But you want to take money again from you.
To pay money. Am I going to be a good servant, really? Am I going to be a good representative? Me, I felt otherwise, and that is why I'm still holding back, although the heart is willing. The accounts might not be saying the similar language with me.
I understand.
I don't want to lie. Me, when I come to serve, indeed, I want to serve the people with every capacity that God gave me.
Thank you.
I even want somebody to name me, like you hear people calling me Kasita. I am not Kasita, I'm Isa Sechito. But because of the dedication for over the time, the successes, the efforts to learn more, travel without emolument, all this commitment is what I wanted to put it to the mayorship, is what I wanted to put it to parliament, so that if the representative, as a representative of the people, I consult them, come back to them, and we do the things. Now, this business of looking for paying myself back because I put a lot of money is what is still holding me back.
Thank you.
So as long as I get a solution out of that, my sister,
you will just go in.
But now, we are also excited in business terms. People on Nkrumah Road, Nasa Road, are sharpening their pangas to eat. Because the photographs.
And the posters.
You know the designing. The flyers. The billboards.
So it's going to be a good season for business in those areas.
For them, and also the sector of sports. People are already ordering for goods because the footballs, the netballs, the uniforms for players is all exciting time between now and the next year election.
Thank you.
It's not all sad news. It's some good news for those that are in the sector of elections, and people are eager to earn more.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Issa Sekito, for your time. We do appreciate you very much.
I'll keep listening.
Thank you very much. It's time for us to take a break, and then we will be back shortly. Welcome back from the break. It's 9:29 a.m. and this is KFM VPN. That's Views, People and News. My name is Judith Atim. Of course, like I told you earlier, we've taken a 360-degree turn from our earlier topic, which was focusing on concerns and strategies as parties plan for the 2026 polls, because we woke up to the tragic news of the death of businessman Rajiv Ruparelia, and we've just decided to dedicate this 1 hour of VPN to colleagues of his and his associates to pay tribute. And we heard from Mr. Issa Sekito, the spokesperson of Kampala City Traders Association, Uganda. But now let's hear from Counsel Ellison Karuhanga, who is one of the celebrated advocates in town. He has worked really closely with the Ruparelia group. Of course, Mr. Karuhanga is from Kampala Associated Advocates, a law firm that has worked and defended the business moguls under the Ruparelia Group brand on several occasions. He's also a personal friend to Rajiv. Counsel Ellison Karuhanga, good morning.
Good morning, Judith. How are you?
I am okay. Just very quickly, your thoughts about the tragic news of the passing of your friend Rajiv Ruparelia. I know he's been your long-term friend, and not just him and his family. Just very quickly, your quick thoughts, and also if you could share with us some fond memories or some of the funny things that he used to do or engage in, just for the benefit of those who didn't know him, to give it a personal touch.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, and greetings to all your listeners. I think it is an extremely sad moment for me. I'm sure I speak also for my colleagues at Kampala Associated Advocates, and also for the Ruparelia group of companies, and more especially, it is an extremely sad moment for Mr. and Mrs. Ruparelia, Sudhir and Joyce Ruparelia, who have lost their only son. Rajiv was energy. Rajiv was energy. He had energy in his belly. He was energetic. He was passionate. He was active. He was unstoppable. He was completely unstoppable. He was an incredibly energetic person. He was a visionary person. He was a strong person. He was a business driver. He was a human driver. And yet he was a warm, affectionate, and friendly person who cared very deeply about people around him and was always able and willing to give a hand and to give advice. Rajiv had, I think, a 3-year-old child, and it's really sad that he has left this world when he still had a lot to offer and a human being to raise in the tradition and character and strength of the Ruparelia family. Personally, I am deeply saddened, deeply saddened by the loss of my friend. I am deeply saddened by the loss of a person who had played at an extremely young age an instrumental part in the growth of a monumental business, and who had fought to keep it and who had resisted every attempt to take it away and had instead been able to grow the Ruparelia business and brand together with Dr. Sudhir Ruparelia. And I'm almost at loss for words, and please allow me to convey once again my deepest condolences and prayers at what must be the most tragic time for Rajiv's young family and for the family of Sudhir and Joyce Ruparelia as they
It's a difficult time. Yeah, it is indeed a difficult time. And I know he was a young man, so full of life. We just heard from Mr. Sekito about his big heart and his mission to go to mentor a new generation of young business people. I think the group that would probably take over from their parents and perhaps reshape the economic and business trajectory of this country and perhaps even the region. And of course, from the traders on the business side, it certainly leaves a very, very huge void. But what are some of the quirky things? I know it's difficult right now to even imagine that someone that close to you is already gone. But what are some of maybe the interesting things, the values that he stood for as a person, that you actually think you'd share with us?
I would call Rajiv a guy's guy. He really enjoyed the company of his friends. And he was an encouraging person. He was a positive person. He was a friendly person. And he was always, I would call him the life of the party, but that's even, he was unstoppable. He was, what I recall most about Rajiv is that at any time he'd want people around him, and he was always encouraging. He was an extremely encouraging person, especially when it came to business ideas and to what you're doing for business and to where you're getting your other income from and what other side hustle are you doing, and something he was passionate about pushing. He was also strong on. So he was even as a businessman, he was just completely unstoppable. In everything Rajiv did, he did it with urgency, with speed, and with a happiness. Rajiv, I can't think of a time when you sat with him and after a few minutes he didn't have that Rajiv laugh that certainly brings to miss. There's that burst of laughter that always came from his chest all the way up. And I cannot imagine the pain that certainly surrounding his loved ones and his family at the moment. And so when I think about him, every time I think about him, it's just the laugh that really comes, and this human person who was just always available. And I agree with the business leaders like Mr. Sechito about his contribution to mentorship and to trying to create a young group of business leaders. But beyond that, at least in the last 3 or so years, he had told me that he was becoming obsessed with parenthood and with trying to parent his kid and so on.
It's really another. It's really tragic. It's really tragic, Ellison. Thank you very much. And we do condole with you, his colleagues, and his family. Well, it just goes to show you that life is just so. It's just the frailty of life, really. You cannot really put a time or a day that any of us will actually depart this earth. Thank you very much, Mr. Karuhanga, for your time. Welcome back from the break. It's 20 minutes to 10 o'clock. This is VPN. My name is Judith Atim. And like I said earlier, we're dedicating this 1 hour to paying tribute to the fallen businessman Rajiv Ruparelia, son to Tycoon Sudhir Ruparelia, who tragically died this morning in a fatal crash that occurred at around 1:54 a.m. at the Busabala flyover traffic lights located in Machindi Sabagabo, Wakiso district. A statement from the police says his vehicle, which was traveling from Kajansi towards Munyonyo, that he lost control of the vehicle after colliding with temporary pavements installed at the roundabout section of the flyover, and the vehicle subsequently overturned and caught fire, leading to the instant death of the driver. That's Mr. Rajiv Ruparelia. We've had tributes from two of his colleagues or associates The first was Mr. Issa Sekito, the spokesperson of Kampala City Traders Association Uganda, and also from Council Ellison Karuhanga of Kampala Associated Advocates, the firm that has for years represented the Ruparelia Group, where Rajiv was managing director. Rajiv was just 35 years old, for your information. He was born on the 2nd of January, 1990. And from what we hear from his colleagues, he leaves a 3-year-old child behind. Council Karuhanga just says he was a guy full of energy. He was a guy's guy. He did whatever he had to do with urgency, with speed, with passion. He was a guy with a hearty laugh. He just loved life and lived every minute of it. It is definitely a very dark day for the Ruparelia family. But we are trying to get other colleagues and associates of his on the line. But as my producer, Stephen Bide, continues to do so, I would like us to just take a look at the news highlights, what transpired during this week, what stood out. Of course, the first and most, the biggest for the day is the death of Rajiv, but also today is World Press Freedom Day. It's a day which serves as a reminder to everyone about the critical role that journalists play and the need to protect their safety from daily risks such as threats, censorship, and violence, just because they put their life on the line to report the truth. This year's theme is "Only Through Journalism Do We See the Full Picture." But in 2024 alone, just so you know, across the world, 82 journalists lost their lives in the course of their work, compared to 74 in 2023. And also, as we know, here in Uganda, a lot of journalists continue to suffer various threats. As we saw from the recent, in March this year, during the recent Kawempe North by-election, where a number of journalists, including my own producer, Mr. Stephen Bide, our photographer here, Abu, and many others were intimidated, arrested, brutalized. Others are still nursing wounds to this minute. Now, Eddie Mutwe, on Sunday, it was reported that the head of Bobi Wine's security, Mr. Edward Sebufo, commonly known as Eddie Mutwe, was picked up or kidnapped from Mukono. But shortly after, the Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, went to his X account and bragged that he was the one holding Eddie Mutwe in his basement. Shortly after, we saw him release a picture of Mutwe appearing visibly distressed, his head shaved clean, his beard was also shaved off, and he looked in quite bad shape, and he circulated this on his social media, on his X handle on Friday morning. In response, Robert Chagulanyi, the leader of the National Unity Platform, yesterday called for a solidarity gathering at the NUP headquarters in Makerere, Kavule. Again, security blocked this gathering just days after they blocked the youth protest vote launch, which had been slated for Monday, 28th April. In response, we've seen some human rights groups, including the Uganda Human Rights Commission, several activists and individuals making rallying calls and pleas for Eddie Mutwe's release since his abduction. On Thursday, Uganda joined the rest of the world to mark the International Labour Day, which serves as a global recognition of solidarity, advocacy, and appreciation for workers in all sectors for their contribution to national development. Uganda's national event was held in Nakapiripirit district, where President Museveni was the chief guest. His message again focused more on his government's drive to wealth creation for both civil servants and individuals. He outlined aspects that will spur national economic development. And from across the region, a Kenyan opposition member of parliament was shot dead in the capital, Nairobi, on Wednesday, in what police have described as a targeted and premeditated crime. Charles Were was shot after his car stopped at a roundabout on a busy major road. He'll be buried next Friday at his Homa Bay County. President William Ruto has urged police to conduct a thorough investigation and that those responsible must be held to account. Back at home, the political temperature is rising, especially in the Forum for Democratic Change, with a presidential flag bearer race for the 2026 general elections underway within the party. 6 contenders have expressed interest in the post, and this include Dan Masiko, Nathan Nandala Mafabi, Patrick Oboya Muriat, Bumba Arinitwe Osama Semogerere, Gerald Malinga. The aspirants will return the nomination forms on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. And lastly, a Ugandan and UN judge, Lydia Mugambe, has been jailed in the United Kingdom. Justice Lydia Mugambe was sentenced to jail for more than 6 years for forcing a young woman to work without pay while the judge was studying at the University of Oxford. Mugambe was appointed a High Court judge in 2013, and in 2023 she was appointed a UN judge. Well, those are the highlights as we continue with our discussion, because we're taking a shift from our earlier topic, which was the strategies and concerns as parties plan for the 2026 polls. But we have veered, we've taken a 360-degree turn after waking up to the shocking and heartbreaking news of the tragic death of businessman Rajiv Ruparelia, the managing director of Ruparelia Group of Companies, and son to tycoon Sudi Ruparelia. But also do remember that from 10 to 11 a.m. we shall also change course a little. We shall be joined by guests from the Electoral Commission, who will be here to discuss the ongoing display exercise of the National Voters Register. And we do hope you'll still be with us then to just pay attention to this very important update, and definitely would expect you to ask a few questions if you have some. But just very quickly, again, about the news of the death of Rajiv Ruparelia. We heard from 2 of his associates or colleagues, the first being Mr. Issa Sekito, spokesperson Kampala City Traders Association, Uganda, who described him as a very passionate young man with a vision to mentor a crop of young business leaders who would basically shape and transform the trajectory of business in Uganda and perhaps across the region. We also heard from Council Karuhanga that Rajiv leaves behind a 3-year-old child. He was basically passionate about life, had a hearty laugh, loved life. He was a guy's guy. He did everything he had to do with passion, with dedication, with urgency, with speed. And it is a very dark day for the Ruparelia family. But also, if you're listening in, we would like to open our phone lines. And if you want to, if there's anything you want to contribute to this discussion, or if you know him, you knew Rajiv in any way, or you want to condole with the family, please feel free and do so. Our phone lines will be opening shortly. I'll just read the numbers to you: 0393 933 933, 0393 262 933, 0393 262 934, 0393 266 933, 0701 933 934. Lastly, 0751 933 900. This is KFM VPN. To give us a call, share your thoughts, your opinions, just, condole with the family if you have to. Hello. Yes, please.
Good morning, Judy.
Good morning. Yes, Michael. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I also send my condolences to the family and to the business community. I personally, I couldn't say that I knew him, like we're connected, but when I've had people have given us the insights about him, it shows they are going to miss a great entrepreneur in this country. I've learned one thing from Mr. Sekito, what he talked about.
Yeah.
He said he was a link to them, which means that most of the rich people are hard to reach on, by the way.
True.
But if this child has been a link, or this gentleman has been a link between him and the other business people to the father, it shows really they are going to miss that linkage, and it's going to be a very big gap. And also the rich people should be allowed to be easily, not easy, but be available. As long as you're in the same field of business. It's so unfortunate that they are really going to miss him as a person in that line. Nothing much I can say.
Thank you.
The family and all the listeners and all the people who knew him.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you for your contribution. Hello. Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you, Juma Busegaria.
Yes, Juma.
God will give, God will take.
True.
But we are all together spiritually. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juma. Hello.
Good morning, Judith.
Good morning.
And thanks for the show.
You're welcome. May I know who I'm talking to?
This is Dina from Nawel.
Yes, Dina.
I'm also saying, Inna lillahi wa inna lillahi raji'un. May Allah grant him Jannah Firdaus.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning KFM.
Yes, good morning KFM. May I know who I'm talking to, please?
Timothy is my name.
Timothy, please proceed.
Yes. Very sad about Rajiv. I can't say I knew him personally, but just got memories of sad. The shots passing on the same express road. Just, I think, last month. Very vibrant young man, really both in business and sports, motorsports to be exact. Very amiable to be able to receive anyone of any category, of any class. So really the country has made a big loss both in business and sport.
True.
Very sad for the family. May the Lord really strengthen them in this trying time. But on this whole Eddie Mutwe and the general, the CDF, I'm more inclined to him trying to find, I don't know, an avenue to get noticed, because he spent yesterday on Twitter just bragging about his 3 tweets. It brings a lot of concern about security and the elections. And you question, do we really need these elections if this is how they're going to be a do or die or people like that? So I'm very concerned of where the trajectory of our country is going politically. But most especially, are we devoid of leaders that can be able to sit down with the general himself and have a conversation on what country we want, where we look like as a country? But also the languaging is becoming a little bit too much of hate speech and very concerning on what is happening. And I don't know, there is a group of young people, elite, that are not in this conversation and just watching it on the sideline. That's my biggest concern. Their silence is too loud for where we're going as a country. Thank you very much for the show this morning.
Thank you so much, Timothy, for your thoughts, of course, not just on the passing of Rajiv and the recent passing on of Sad Shots, but also highlighting this critical issue of Eddie Mutwe and the tweets by the CDF, which, you actually put it, are actually promoting hate speech and tribal sentiments and so on. Thank you. We do appreciate. Hello? Okay. I think we'll be opening the phone lines a little later on. We're trying to get another person who is also one of the players and an analyst in the entertainment industry, and someone who also probably knew the other side of Rajiv. I mean, his love for life, the partying, and just like all his colleagues have said, this is someone who was just upbeat, and at his age, a very, very young man, 35 years old, very, very, very young, with so much life and promise ahead of him. Hello.
Hello.
Eddie Sandy.
Judith, how are you?
I am fine, my brother. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. It's a dark morning.
Very dark morning, I would say as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in shock because I've just got to know that Rajiv Ruparelia has passed away.
Yes, he has.
I happen to have interacted with him about 18, 20 years ago when he opened up a club called Club Sway.
I remember, yes.
I know a lot of people today might not even know that there was ever a club called
Sway, yes.
But this was a club that was situated on Kampala Road, near or next to Boulevard today. Boulevard is on Kampala Road, opposite the General Post Office. And so I happen to have been around those days, and I was a friend to friends of his, and so we used to frequent the place, and he had so much passion in contributing to the night economy in terms of employing people and in terms of creating jobs and creating entertainment. And I would say it's very, very unfortunate that we have lost such a young guy, because 35 years, someone is still a youth, someone is still very young. There is so much expected out of him.
True.
And,
so, Eddie, sorry, just talking about Club Sway, I'm glad, I had forgotten about that, but I do remember. And there's a time I read, I think there was he was doing theme nights, right? And there's something like a beach party at Sway?
Yes.
With sand put in the club and so on.
Exactly.
I read about that, and it was just very funny.
There were many theme nights. Well, he was trying to be creative, and they would bring palm trees and sand and
yes,
get the waitresses and all the ushers in there to dress like they are
at the beach, and
to give the punters, the club goers, a real beach feel, But for me, I always look at the bigger picture. I don't look at the beach and stuff, but I look at his creativity was giving a lot of people jobs, because you can imagine the guys that were bringing in sand, obviously were making money.
Yeah.
The guys that were bringing in the palm trees, the ushers, the waitresses, the suppliers of the drinks and all those, all those.
And he was also very, very young at that time.
Yeah, he was. He was. But he had what I would call, he had a vision. I think he had just come back from England. So he was trying to bring what he had seen and learned and studied about in England to Uganda. And I want to tell the people that it is very, very sad that we've lost such a guy, because people who have some money, who have the social capital, and then who have grown up within the generation, and they understand the youth, and he had passion for creating jobs. There's a lot of unemployment, so it is very, very sad whenever you lose someone who was in the line of creating employment for people. And then when I get onto the other side, I would like to pass on my... I've not met his father before, so he might not know me, but it doesn't stop me from passing on my condolences to Mr. Rajiv Ruparelia, because as a fellow parent, the worst thing is when a parent has to, the way I'll do a direct translation of Uganda, that it is a very, very sad moment when a parent has to look in the son or daughter's grave. You know, basically what it means is that it is very sad for a parent to lose a child, more so a grown-up child like Rajiv was. So, but I would like as well to use KFM as a mouthpiece and request the Ministry of Works to help us and speed up the road work on the Southern Express Munyonyo Spa. I feel they have taken too long to complete the roadworks, and with the delay in the roadworks, that is why we are starting to lose valuable people in such accidents. You know? Yes, police says investigations are still going on, but there is roadwork.
Thank you.
Which is a constant.
And that has also been highlighted by someone else. I think Issa Sekit also alluded to a similar thing earlier. Thank you very much, Eddie, for your thoughts and your condolences to the family. Well, Eddie Sendi is a music entertainment critic / analyst and a colleague. Thank you for your views. It's time for us to take a break again. And then when we return in this hour now, we shift course, of course, and move to, like I told you earlier, I'm being joined by someone from the Electoral Commission. I'll be letting you know who it is. And we shall be talking about the display of the National Voters Register and registers for special interest groups as we prepare for the 2025-26 general elections. This is after the break. Welcome back from the break. It's 7 minutes past 10 o'clock, and this is the KFM Views, People and News, or KFM VPN. My name is Judith Atim. In this hour, we're now shifting focus. I'm joined by someone from the Electoral Commission. That's Mr. Henry Makabai, who is the Kampala District Returning Officer. Henry, good morning.
Good morning, listeners, and good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I know we are here to talk about the ongoing display exercise of the National Voters Register. But before we go that, we are also, I would like you to still pay your tribute to Mr. Rajiv Ruparelia, who just tragically died in a fatal car accident this morning at around 1:54 a.m. I don't know if you knew him or you don't have to have known him at a personal level, but certainly I'm sure you have something to say.
Good morning, listeners of KFM. I would like to extend my sincere condolences to the entire country for the passing on of Rajiv Ruparelia. This was a person who was really central in the business enterprise established by his father. I could say he's the person who has been moving that business, given that the father is aging and is not so much in the limelight these days. So losing a person who was just 35 years, he was born in 1990, 35 years. It's really sad that the country has lost such an industrious young man who has been really a social person. He's known by many, and I think the rally fans knew him better, those who are in the rally fraternity. But I must say it's very sad that we've lost such an entrepreneur. Of course, it gives a setback somehow to the business enterprise that he has been leading. But we just pray that his soul rests in peace. We commiserate with the family of Mzee, let me call him Mzee Ruparelia, and the business enterprise that he has been leading. We hope his soul rests in peace.
Amen. Thank you, Henry. So now let's dive into our discussion. The display of the voters register is ongoing, but I'd like to hear from you. What feedback are you getting from the ground? Well, personally, I didn't check mine, but my brother went and checked for me, and all is well. Yes.
Thank you very much. The display of the voters register is ongoing. It started on the 25th of last month, April, and it's supposed to end on the 15th of this month, May. The feedback we are getting is that, well, by and large, a number of people who have gone to the polling stations have found their particulars. There are some few cases of people who say they were meant to be at particular polling stations but are not finding their details there. Of course, that is an issue that of concern to us, especially if in reality they were previously voting there and then they are not finding their particulars. But that could be arising out of routine activities that the Electoral Commission conducts of reorganizing of polling stations. Because you find that you may find that there was a polling station in a particular locality, and now that place has been built up. It was an open ground, it's now a building. And then we are prompted to do some reorganization to place these voters elsewhere in nearby polling stations. But the bottom line for us is that we are supposed to have a polling station in every parish. So the likelihood is that those persons are in another polling station, but within that parish.
But which areas are you getting these kinds of complaints? Because I know in previous conversations we've had here on this show with other actors as well, the concern has always been Greater Kampala and I think Wakiso areas are quite problematic.
You are spot on. It's essentially it's the urban areas where these challenges mainly arise. And we also have situations where we have to optimize the numbers of voters at polling stations, reducing if they have overshot. In the urban areas, we are thinking of 1,200, but you find you may have even no space to have them placed. So that is going to be challenging to us. But like you said, it's mainly Wakiso, the Greater Kampala, and the other urban areas, especially the cities. That's where you find some of these glitches. But in the rural areas, we mainly have people finding themselves where they should be. In the first week of the display, we have an online register where people can check without necessarily having to.
I actually checked mine during the update.
You find in the first week of the display, our system was down, so that was not very feasible. But it is now up and running, so that where one finds that they are not at the polling station where they expect to be, they should first check on that online system. It's on www.ec.or.ug/register. And then if they can type in their NIN, in fact now it has been adjusted to even provide for typing in of names, one can establish where their current voting location is, and if it does not coincide with where they usually vote from, then they should go to their polling station and notify the officials there, of course with proof that they are meant to be at that polling station, and then a clean 6 form will be filled, because that's a form that is filled for people who present themselves as having been omitted from that particular register that they have gone to view.
Okay, that's a good one. So let's now talk about your mandate as the Electoral Commission, constitutional mandate on the display of the National Voters Register and the registers for special interest groups.
Our constitutional mandate really stems from the Constitution itself, and then Section 25 of the Electoral Commission Act. Those really, it's expressed that the Electoral Commission should display the voters' register for a specified period of time to facilitate people to get to know whether they are on the register, to help them to identify those who are not meant to be on that register, because for a register to be credible, it should only have those people who are supposed to vote from that particular voting location. So the purpose of the display is, one, when we update the register, by the time we go for an update, there are people who are already on the register and there are new entrants onto that register. So this gives an opportunity to all of them to come and establish whether or not they are on the register. And if they are meant to be there and they are not, then they should raise the flag and point out, and the relevant form will be filled for them to be included. Because after the display of the register, we do not have any other opportunity of looking at the register until we begin polling. So people need to take this period very seriously, because if you just assume you are on the register and then you come polling day and you are not there, regardless of who you are, you will not be given an opportunity to vote, because you will not be on the register anyway, because all that can be given to you on that day is a regret. And all we can endeavor to say is maybe you are deleted from the register, and this is the reason you are deleted from the register. Maybe you do not, people said you do not belong to that
area. Yeah.
So I really urge people to take the issue of display of the register very seriously, because it is the final opportunity they have to establish whether or not their details are on the register. One other period that they really need to be more keen about is the period of natural justice that will start on the day after we've completed the display of the register, because that's when all the recommendations for deletion or inclusion will be at a central place at the parish level. Now, at least there you can know, you can go, and even if you did not go to view, but still you need to have gone to view to establish that you are there. But if you did not, then you would come on and establish those who have been recommended for deletion. Browse through. Your name could have been put there as somebody who died. Never know when you are alive, or somebody who does not belong to that area. When
Yet you do.
So during that period of natural justice, a period, 10-day period, the parish tribunals would then be sitting with the help, with the assistance of our parish election officer, take record, and browsing through all those recommendations and confirming that true, this person does not belong here, true, this person died, this person belongs to another parish, and then they would mention which other parish that person belongs to, so that at the end of the day, the register will be, for those recommendations to be effected, they will have to be endorsed by the parish tribunals. And I would like to thank, at this point in time, the magistrates who have helped us to constitute the respective parish tribunals countrywide, because they have been made ready for that exercise. I'm sure at least of Kampala, the magistrate for Kampala Central communicated with me and even sent me a copy of the parish tribunals that he has constituted, and they actually took an oath a few days ago. So I didn't want to leave without appreciating our colleagues in this, because the judiciary and the Electoral Commission work hand in hand, especially on issues to do with the display of the voters' register.
Yes. So speaking of the display, one would assume that when you go to a polling station, you find the list pinned either on a tree or on a wall or something. But I've had instances, someone was actually sharing with me last week that at their polling station, they also went with the assumption that the list would be pinned, but it wasn't. So it was just an official having a list, and then he just says, okay, check your name. So then it didn't give them the opportunity to scrutinize as voters of that particular area which names, which people are actually do not belong to that particular polling station. I don't know how you actually intend to rectify some of these anomalies.
At the beginning of all these exercises, we conduct training for our officials, and in this case, the display officers were trained, and it was expressly put to them, and is expressed in our guidelines that we gave to each one of them, that the register should be displayed by hanging wherever they are. One could put it aside maybe if it is raining and it's so windy, that's understandable. But under a calm weather situation, the register should be hung somewhere, and it is spiral bound. We provide for where it can be hooked. So all one needs is just a simple string. If you fail to get a string, you could get even a lace from your shoe. For that purpose, hang it somewhere. So the issue of it not being displayed is not permissible. We've had some cases where somebody tells you, the register is at the LC1 chairperson's office, and it's just in the office. But when you tell somebody, can I speak to our official who is there so that I can guide them on what they should do? Say, well, I was there, but now I'm not there. So some of them could be just allegations, but I don't want to just wish them away. In the event that there are display officers countrywide who are not displaying this register, my appeal to them is that they should follow what is in the guidelines of display and ensure that these registers are displayed in the open, in public places. And this should be somewhere in the proximity of, or at where they ordinarily vote from, because it also enables these people to get to know their polling station. Yes,
okay. So just for the benefit of our listeners, I know people are also keen on the display for the special interest groups. If you could also talk about that.
The display for special interest groups, the registers in this case are those for the youth who are between 18 and 30 years of age, the older persons who are above 60 years, 60 years and above, and then we have persons with disabilities, because I remember in November last year, we went out to establish persons with disabilities so that we would indicate those disabilities of theirs in our database in order to generate a register for them. So we have extracted those registers from the National Voters Register. So you'll find that a person with disability who disclosed their disability to us appears on the National Voters Register. So on the voters register in that particular place, they will be there. And then they will also appear in this extracted
special interest
groups register. And we have respective forms for detailing particulars of maybe omissions of persons from the special interest group register, so that when they point it out, then next time when they print out the register for elections of those special interest groups, that person would appear. And
the UPDF also as a special interest group?
UPDF is also a special interest group. The workers are also a special interest group. And for these ones, of course the UPDF, it is the electoral college that elects the 10 representatives of the UPDF to parliament. And so their register is displayed in their locality normally when that election is due, because it is compiled by the organization itself. They are the ones who know who constitutes the electoral college. And then we also have the workers, the different trade unions that the different trade unions that have representation. So these registers will also be displayed in those respective organizations.
Okay. So, you've talked about the purpose, the rationale for the display exercise. Just let's talk about eligible and ineligible persons. Just for clarity, for someone who is listening, you need to also pay attention if you're a voter at your polling station. What should you look out for as this display exercise is ongoing?
Thank you very much. When you talk about eligible and ineligible persons, one, to be eligible to be on a particular voters register, in the Ugandan situation, you need to be a resident of that, either a resident of that parish, and the basic unit for elections is a parish. So the polling stations are for administrative ease, because you may find a parish with 14,000 voters. So you cannot have all those in one polling station. So one needs to be either a resident of that parish or needs to originate from that parish. They are what we usually call our villages where we come from. So then you need to be a citizen of this country, 18 years and above. So the ineligible persons are persons who are younger than 18, persons who do not reside or originate from that parish, and then you would have also non-citizens. Those are the main categories I could really point out. So when one goes to look out to browse the voters register that is on display, you would then be looking out for whether you can identify those faces on, because it's a photographic and it's colored for the National Voters Register. It's on A3 size, so it's reasonably big.
You can tell.
You can easily identify a face because it's colored. It's just it's those for special interest groups that we did not print in color. But still, if one wants to verify the color, can look at the National Voters Register to get the clarity of that image. So look out to establish whether the photographs against one's particular are the correct ones. Otherwise, we would be having what we call a mismatch, and we also have a form that is used to remove or to rectify that anomaly. Then, if one is meant to be on a particular register, as I had mentioned earlier, and finds that they are not supposed to be there, and provides proof that they are supposed to be at that particular polling station, then their details would have to be filled on a form that we call a Clean 6 form for filling of omissions.
Okay. So there's one question I think that comes on this show a lot from our listeners. During this display exercise, are you allowing people to register, fresh voters to register, or are you allowing people to also transfer their polling stations? If I've been voting at polling station A, or maybe I've been voting in Kampala, but this time I want to go and vote from, say, Arua or Mubende or wherever, are you allowing this exercise this time around or not?
No, we are not allowing fresh registrations. We are not allowing transfers of voting location because those were done during the update of the register. In any case, if you want to register afresh, we do not have the registration kit there because we are supposed to capture your photographs, we are supposed to capture your fingerprints, we are supposed to capture your signature. But we do not have that at the polling stations where we are displaying. So it's not time for, where it's past that time. We are at the next phase now, verifying the details of those who turned up during the update. Yeah.
So let's talk about the forms so many forms with all these coded names or codes that are being used during this display exercise, and why, or what are their purposes?
Each form has a specific purpose. I will start with maybe the first form, which is normally the Clean 8. That one is essentially a report where you establish a checklist of what you have been sent. I've been sent this number of clean forms. I've been sent one register. I've been sent one
That's
pen.
the EC official who is doing the display exercise.
Yes, that's the EC official. It's the EC officials who really fill these forms.
Okay.
Because they are not for the voters.
For us.
It's just that what you bring to us is what we capture on these respective forms. Now, in case there is a problem with one's photographs, having a wrong photograph, or if your photograph is switched with that of another person, then we would use a Clean 3 to identify that there is a problem with the photographs of this particular voter that will need attention. Either we shall need to remove that photograph, or we shall need to switch if in case there is your photograph appears against my particulars and my particulars appear against your photograph, then the course of action would be taken. We have a Clean 9, which is essentially used for the deletions. In case somebody is identified as dead, then you would have to point that out and it would be filled out. Now, for each of these forms, the person raising the issue or the objection needs to provide their particulars so that in case of a complaint in future, because we've had cases where somebody turns up to a polling station and then it is identified that they were deleted, as maybe that they left an area, then we would actually even point out to you that it is so and so who stated that you are not meant to be on that particular register. So the details of the persons bringing up the objection should be captured. And then we have a form specifically for identifying the dead. That's a clean 9D, so that specific attention is paid to those that died, and when the tribunals are sitting, they can make quick reference to that extract and establish amongst themselves, because these are people who live within that parish, and they would definitely have an idea. The 5 of them, including our parish official, would have an idea whether or not that person died, and therefore have to endorse those particulars.
So
now,
when I go to my polling station and inform the display officer that this person died, so do I need proof of death, like a death certificate, or
ordinarily, yes, you need proof of death, and I'm sure these days it's easier for people to get to access death certificates, because they through the NERA system.
What if you don't have?
If you do not have, then a relative, a close relative of that person can definitely
attest to the fact that the person is dead.
If I lost my dad, I could attest to the fact that my dad, and those parish tribunal members, some of them could have even attended the burial, yes. So they could attest to that. But where there is no confirmation of that, that detail will be left on the register for as long as there is nothing to prove. Yeah.
Okay.
And then in case there are minor corrections on one's particulars, say you are spelling the name is misspelled, maybe you could say Makabai, there could be an I missing somewhere, that also could be done. But any major changes to names, adding a name or subtracting one of your names or changing your date of birth, that's not a correction that will be permitted during the display unless you have gone through the formal legal procedure of
swearing a deed poll and so on.
Deed poll, and then having it gazetted, and then notifying NERA and coming with a copy of the letter that you have taken those details to NERA, because when we correct them at the Electoral Commission, NERA also needs to have corrected them, because the source of our information is
NERA. Yeah,
is NERA.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Stephen is telling me it's time for us to take a break, so let's do that, and then when we return, we'll still be continuing with a lot of questions that we need to have clarity on regarding the ongoing display of the National Voters Register. This is VP. Welcome back from the break. It's 10:36 a.m. and this is VP, and my name is Judith Atim. I am joined by an official from the Electoral Commission, Mr. Henry Makabai, who is the Kampala District Returning Officer, shedding more light on the ongoing display of the National Voters Register and the display for the special interest groups. Henry, before we went to the break, you're still explaining these various forms that your display officers are having at the polling stations where the display exercise is ongoing. Please, let's just wind up and then we move on. We look at who is involved in this exercise and what roles the different stakeholders are actually playing as we continue with the display.
Thank you very much, Judith. I was talking about Clean 10, which will be used for corrections and really minor corrections. Major corrections, one has to follow the legal procedure of making those corrections. And then we have a Clean 11, which will be used for submission of all those objections to the returning officer. We have a Form EC/SIG. That's the one where particulars of persons with special interest groups will be filled. So their details will not be filled in the general details of the National Voters Register. There is a particular form that will be used for special interest groups. Now there is, at the end of the display exercise, I talked earlier on about the period of natural justice, where now the parish tribunal sits to establish whether or not the recommendations that were made in good faith, and there was no malice, forethought in trying to put such recommendations forward, and they would sit and discuss each of the entries on those, and any objections that they will find that will come up to what will have been filled in the other clean forms will be filled on a clean 7. So the clean 7 will only be filled during the period of the natural justice. That is really about the forms. And then now talk about the officials who will be involved, of course,
and what roles they play.
In every district, there is the overall person managing this exercise is the district returning officer or district election administrator. And then we have the assistants. In the cases of Kampala, Greater Wakiso, we have divisions which also have assistants. So those assistants, assistant district election administrators or assistant returning officers, have a role to play because those are closer now to the ground. Then we have our sub-county election officers in every sub-county, of course in the urban settings in every division. Then we have parish election officers. And I will not forget the parish tribunals that I talked about earlier. These are really officials that will be really at the center of this.
And they know the community very well.
And they know the community very well. Because of this, you have 2 elders and then 3 who are nominated in consultation with political parties. So these are officials that then the display officer. So the display officer will be really in custody of the register and the forms. They will be capturing the data on these forms, and they will be ascertaining the correctness of the information that is being brought to them. And then at the end of it, they will have to submit these forms to the relevant officer.
So let's talk about the appointed political party agents. We have so many parties, for example, and I see here you have 3 members. What's the criteria used to actually appoint these members?
Well, I will not talk about the criteria because I'm not the appointing authority. But the magistrates should have done this and taken due care of consulting. And they normally consult with the active political parties
in that particular area. So if you don't have a presence,
you may have to trace them, and you don't even know what their address is. So for those that have a presence, those are normally
the dominant ones.
The dominant ones, I think.
All right.
But that's for really the judiciary to help us to establish how they came up with this.
Okay.
Then, of course, the party agents. You've talked about party agents. These are meant really to observe and report to their parties about the exercise. They can also report to the Electoral Commission what they find. They really should help in mobilizing participation. They are the ones who will need the votes at the end of the day. So their efforts in mobilizing these people to turn up, to participate in cleaning the register, really benefit the entire country and benefit them to the extent that they will be looking for votes from those particular people. And then they are meant to encourage tolerance and cooperation with tolerance with each other, people of opposing political views, but cooperating with everybody that's participating in this exercise.
Thank you. So let's, I think you've actually responded to most of the questions, most of the issues. The role of security agencies in the display exercise, which security agency is responsible for this?
The Uganda Police Force is the lead agency in this. And during the display, I don't think they appeal to any other security agency during the display, because the display is a generally calm exercise process, and but so police in the respective localities, and as you may realize, police has deployed to relatively lower levels, to sub-county levels in many places, so they are able to establish what's going on about the display in those particular. So it's about enforcing law and order, ensuring that people are participating freely in these exercises, ensuring the safety of the officials and the materials that are being used for this exercise, and controlling violence in the event that it arises.
Okay, so it's time for us to open the phone lines and allow our callers to also join the conversation and hopefully ask any questions that they might have. 0393 933 933, 0393 262 933, 0393 262 934, 0393 266 933, 0701 933 934, 0751 933 900. We have a caller on the line.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well. I just wanted to ask a question about the tribunal.
Your name, please.
Timothy.
Timothy again. Thank you.
Yes. I just want to ask about the tribunal. How do they hope to insulate it against compromise or being corrupted? How do they plan to do that?
The parish tribunals, you mean, right?
Yes, I mean the parish tribunal.
Okay. Thank you. Hello?
Yes, Judith.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Who is this?
This is Ekode.
Ekode again, thank you.
Yeah,
yes?
I don't have a question. And I just want to encourage my fellow KFM listeners, most especially those who are eligible to vote, that let's go and verify our names and be sure where you're going to vote from, so that when you have a concern, you have a right to ask when you visit your polling station and your name was missing. So you should not wait for the last hours when you have not gone there. Then we start to come on radio, then we start to complain. So I encourage all of us, let's go, and we verify our names.
Thank you.
Then the next thing, we shall take another step.
Thank you, Michael. Yes. Hello? Okay, I think so far we only have two callers. We'll another one. Hello?
Good morning, Judith.
Good morning. May I please know who I'm talking to?
This is Bright Mike from...
Bright. Oh, my God. I don't know why we always have that problem. Okay. Henry, I think you could respond to this, but also I had a question for you earlier about the numbers in Greater Kampala and Wakiso, and whether these 21 days would be enough to actually resolve whatever issues people might have if their names are missing at a particular polling station or their names have been put elsewhere. How is this going to be addressed, just to make sure voting day is smooth and calm and people feel their rights are actually honored and respected?
Thank you very much, Judith. Let me start with the last one about Kampala, Greater Kampala and Wakiso. The numbers are of concern to all of us because we have polling stations that have more than 1,000 voters. This is mainly because of availability of space. And each electoral cycle, we find we have less space to operate from, because our polling stations are normally on open grounds. We vote in the open. We do not vote in classrooms like people in other countries do. Or even when it rains, we normally go like to the veranda of a nearby building, but not inside a building. So it is a matter of concern to us, but we are not in this alone. We are in this with the respective communities that vote. And we normally utilize the guidance and help of those communities to identify where exactly we can vote from. And then we establish how best to arrange our polling stations. Of course, the layout of a polling station is mainly meant to ensure that the secrecy of the vote is upheld. So whatever little space that there is, we will have to utilize that little space, but the main focus will be to establish that the place where the basin where we tick or where we thumbprint the ballot paper is a place where it's free from the view of other voters other than the one who is casting their ballot. So it's a matter that we really are engaging the respective communities. I would like to point out that there are even certain places that are saying, well, this place has been a polling station before, and we would not want a polling station on our land anymore.
So these are private individuals?
These are private individuals. They have a right to their own land, and all we have to do is to plead and persuade them to allow the community. But the community takes lead because they are the ones who are going to vote. So we normally work it out with the respective community leaders and try to establish a common understanding about the situation. Of course, I will say we apologize for situations where people's things may have been damaged in the course of elections, and that's what normally causes some of this fear that, well, why should I have these people here again if
it's too much of a liability?
It's a liability. So it's really very unfortunate, and we are sorry about such, but it will always be our effort to ensure that we have calm situations when we are managing electoral activities. So the issue of space. Now you're talking of whether the 21 days are enough. It's all about us. Even in one day, the display of a register can be accomplished if everybody came and browsed through the register and identified. But there is a tendency for us to wait for the last days of an activity, and then we ask for an extension. As for the display of the register, I highly doubt whether an extension will be granted, because this is a time where you are just coming to view, flip through the register and see the contents. And if you have not bothered to take, because these people are at these centers from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So there is... if you could,
they haven't answered Timothy
and...
how do we insulate the tribunals from being compromised? Timothy, all we do is, after the tribunals have been appointed, the returning officers are supposed to have a training session with them where they discuss, where they point out the issue of their being objective, and they go through the guidelines for the display, because for as long as they follow the guidelines for the display of the register, there is no way in which they should be compromised. And then, in any case, for them, they will be looking at recommendations that were brought by other people. And they are coming in at the tail end of the activity. Those who recommended the deletions or inclusions are not there at that particular moment. But they are having they are giving an opinion and pointing out to assess whether or not what these other people brought up. So I don't think they would be acting in a biased manner. Of course, I thank Michael for encouraging listeners of KFM to go and verify their details, so that when they make complaints, their complaints are really from an informed point of view and not just hearsay.
So there's another concern coming in here. That also, is it coincidence purely that the time NRM has been on the ground with their register program during their voter register update is the same time that EC is also on the ground? And another issue is there's also a concern from the display officers that they are being paid only 10,000 shillings per day, but also the money is not given to them on a daily basis. They're being told the money will be sent after some time. There are also concerns that some political leaders have not been fully engaged in the exercise, yet they know the areas and the people very well. Just your response. I don't know if I've been too fast.
No, you have not.
Okay, but I can always repeat if you want me to.
The first issue raised is it pure coincidence that the NRM register is being displayed at this? It's pure coincidence because our roadmap came out several months ago. No, actually more last year. Our roadmap came up last year, so they could be tapping into an opportunity that the National Electoral Commission has created for them. But it's really pure coincidence. We do not compare notes when we are coming up with our roadmap. But also, political parties attempt to fit within the Electoral Commission roadmap if they are to be in time for the activities that will be following nominations and what have you. The issue of 10,000 per day, true, that's what was budgeted and that's what will be paid. And then it is not paid per day. The appointment letters indicate to them that they will be paid at the end of upon successful completion of the exercise. We have even had cases where people came in to train as display officers, and then when they were given the training allowance, the following day they did not come to do the work. So we are conscious about payment after the work has been done. Engaging political leaders, we do our best, and this talk show is an attempt to engage, because we cannot look them up in their homes. We shall not do that, otherwise we shall be seen to be allying with them. Some of our steps towards that might be misinterpreted. But the moment we publicize the program, the moment we put out banners out there, the moment we put out posters out there, we urge the political leaders to take interest. We really plead with them that they should be part of this. And they should be part because, well, they are the politicians who will be looking for the votes from these very voters anyway. So if they really think they are left out, then it's unfortunate. But we take every effort, we make every effort to reach out to all the stakeholders, not the politicians alone.
Okay, that's interesting. So now we actually have about a minute and a half or two to go. I would just like to give you that opportunity to just make your concluding remarks, and then we wind up.
Thank you very much. In my concluding remarks, I think I would like to highlight the procedure of displaying that. One, the display should be impartial. They should not hide these registers from some people, because some people complain that they have not been given an opportunity to look at the register. Two, the register should be hung, because we've provided a hook onto which you can put a string
and display
it. You should allow people to flip through this register to see the contents, but we should not allow people to take snaps, photographs of those registers, because this is people's private information. We do not know the purpose for which somebody would be taking a photograph. If you've come to check on your particulars, do you need to take a photograph of those particulars? Definitely not. And I urge our display officers to fill these forms clearly, so that the recommendations that have been put thereon will be captured well, without any problem. Accuracy of filling of these forms, and then people being mindful of the time, that, well, we have a time for everything. This exercise was from 25th April. It will end on 15th May. And then the one for special interest groups is supposed to end on the 8th of May. And then, so with all that, I think I should say that the Electoral Commission is really handling this exercise in order to have the register cleaned, so that we can have a clean register. We shall ensure that we have optimal numbers of voters at each of the polling stations, and for as long as people turn up to highlight whatever challenges they are with their particulars on the register, we shall endeavor to capture those, so that the register comes out as a credible register for the forthcoming general elections.
Thank you very much, Henry Makabai, Kampala District Returning Officer, Electoral Commission. My name is Judith Atim. This is VPN. We've been discussing, of course, in this hour 10 to 11, we've been talking about the ongoing display of the National Voters Register and the display for the registers for the special interest groups. Thank you, Henry, and thank you all of you who've made time to be with us and to also be a part of the discussion. We do appreciate you for your time. And also, we continue to condole with the family of Dr. Sudhir Ruparelia and his wife, Josna Ruparelia, and all colleagues of Rajiv Ruparelia, who tragically died in a car accident a few hours ago. May his soul rest in peace. VPN returns next Saturday, same time. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful week.